The Kai Season 8 Episode 1 is about to flip the whole game upside down. That Season 7 finale left us frustrated, shocked, and low-key drained, but trust me, the comeback is going to be wild. Let's start with Emmett because, man, this dude is carrying the weight of the whole Southside on his back. Losing Keisha almost broke him, and watching him stand over her at the hospital was already one of the rawest moments in the series. Now in Season 8, Episode 1, we'll see him fighting his demons harder than ever. He's not just grieving, he's angry. And when Emmett gets angry, he makes moves sometimes smart, sometimes reckless, but always emotional. I wouldn't be shocked if Episode 1 opens with him already plotting, trying to figure out who really caused Keisha's downfall, and whether he can trust anyone around him. Then there's Jake, man. Jake is stuck in that dangerous place between being a boy and stepping up as a man. Season 7 forced him to grow up fast, and now with everything crashing down, he's gonna be tested more than ever. He doesn't have Trig's guidance the way he used to, and without that, Jake is just a loaded gun ready to go off at any second. Episode 1 will show us where his loyalty really lies. Does he stand with Emmett and hold it down for the people who've been there since day one? Or does he go chasing his own survival and make moves that could put him against the very same crew he once called family? Either way, Jake is about to be dangerous. And that's what makes him one of the most unpredictable players in this season. Now let's talk about Douda because y'all know this man doesn't go down easy. Season 7 had him losing grip on the streets, losing allies left and right. But don't get it twisted, Douda is still Douda, and if there's one thing we know, it's that he always has a plan. Episode 1 might just show us the beginnings of his revenge tour. Everybody thought they had him cornered, but that's when he's at his most dangerous. I got a strong feeling he's already plotting a comeback. And if he has to burn half the Southside down to do it, he will. The question is who's dumb enough to stand in his way? Tiff's storyline is another one that's gonna hit hard. Losing her people, losing her home, and now standing at a crossroads. She's one of those characters who always finds herself trapped between survival and loyalty. Episode 1 could easily show her being pulled into different directions. On one side, she's trying to protect her kids, trying to keep her life steady. On the other side, she's got this burning need for revenge and closure. And if we've learned anything from Tiff, it's that when her back's against the wall, she's not afraid to fight dirty. I can see her being the one to start digging for the truth about Keisha's death, asking the questions that nobody else wants to ask. And once she starts pulling at those threads, she's not gonna stop until the whole truth comes out. We can't forget about Papa either. People like to underestimate him because he's not out there with a gun in his hand. But Papa's weapon has always been his voice. Season 7 left him shaken, questioning everything he believed in. Episode 1 will probably show him searching for answers, maybe even questioning his faith in a way we've never seen before. And the thing about Papa is, when he finds his truth, he spreads it. He influences people. He lights fires in other folks' hearts without even realizing it. So don't be surprised if Papa becomes the voice that sparks a bigger movement this season. Something even Douda can't control. And then there's Reggie. I can't get him out of my head. Slowly but surely, he's been climbing, plotting, and building his own power. Season 8. Episode 1 might just mark the moment where he finally steps into the spotlight as the new villain of the block. Douda's power might be fading, but Reggie's is rising, and that clash is inevitable. Episode 1 could set the stage for that war, and trust me, once it starts, there's no turning back. Reggie doesn't just want power, he wants respect, fear, and control. And that makes him even more dangerous than Douda ever was. Episode 1 is shaping up to be a storm of grief, rage, and survival. Every single character is going to be tested. Every single relationship is going to be strained, and by the end of that first hour, we'll realize one thing for sure: this isn't just another season of the Kai. This is the season where everything changes. If there's one thing about the Kai, it's that the streets never stay quiet for long. Episode 1 of Season 8 is going to remind us of that real quick. The city is breathing heavy after Keisha's death, and while some folks are mourning, others are already plotting how to use that pain to their advantage. That's the cruel rhythm of the Kai. Every tragedy creates an opening, and somebody's always waiting to step in. Let's start with Vic, because his storyline feels like it's about to explode. Vic isn't built to stay quiet in the face of loss. The finale already showed us the cracks forming in his world, but in Episode 1, those cracks are going to split wide open. He's gonna be wrestling with guilt, with anger, and with the reality that everyone's looking at him like he should have done more. That kind of pressure breaks some people. But Vic isn't the type to crumble, he's the type to lash out. I see him coming into this season as a man who's no longer afraid of consequences. And that's a dangerous shift. He's got nothing left to lose, and when somebody hits that point, their decisions turn reckless fast. I wouldn't be shocked if Vic is the first to move against Douda's people. even before he knows the full truth. Meanwhile, Shad's still caught in that same old cycle of loyalty and regret. Moving Alicia's body in the finale was one of the dumbest moves we've seen in a while. But let's be real, it was also one of the most human. Shad's not cold-blooded, he's emotional. And now, in episode 1, he's going to have to live with the weight of that decision. The cops aren't gonna let it go, and the streets sure as hell won't forget it. Shad's loyalty to Vic has always been his blessing and his curse. This time, it might drag him all the way down. Episode 1 could very well show him behind bars, or at least being pressed hard during an interrogation. And once the system has its hooks in you, getting out clean is never easy. That's going to set the tone for his whole arc this season. Tiff, though she's the one who's really about to carry some heavy weight in episode 1. We watched her lose almost everything, and now she's trying to piece herself back together while raising a newborn. That's already too much for one person. But add in the whispers that Vic might be tied to Alicia's death? It's like the universe is daring her to break. But here's the thing about Tiff, she doesn't break, she bends, she twists, she adapts. And episode 1 will probably show us just how strong she really is. I can see her pulling up on Vic, not to accuse him but to stand by him. That loyalty, that choice to trust him when no one else does, could be the very thing that shifts Vic's path. Tiff isn't just surviving anymore, she's about to become a key player in shaping what happens next. And speaking of survival, let's not forget Bari. This man's been hanging on by a thread, trying to balance his street ties with the possibility of a clean future. Season 7 ended with him staring into the darkness, asking the hard questions. Episode 1 is going to bring those questions to the surface in a way he can't ignore. The death of Alicia, the lies, the betrayal. Bari's tired. You can feel it in the way he looks, the way he moves. I think we're finally gonna see him stand up and say enough is enough. But here's where it gets tricky, nobody just walks away from the streets. Episode 1 might put him in a spot where he has to prove his loyalty one last time, even though his heart is screaming for him to get out. And if he fails that test, he's done. If he passes, he's trapped even deeper. Either way, the streets don't let go easy, and Bari's about to learn that the hard way. And then there's the funerals. Episode 1 won't be able to avoid them, and honestly, I don't think it should. Jada's passing already tore the community in half, and Alicia's death is just another wound on top of it. These funerals are going to bring everyone together in the same space. And you know what that means, tension through the roof. Folks who haven't seen eye to eye in years will be forced to stand side by side, pretending for one day that they can grieve in peace. But grief doesn't erase grudges. Imagine Vic walking into that room with everyone staring him down, whispering about what he did or didn't do. Imagine Bari trying to hold it together while Knuck lurks in the back, daring anyone to challenge him. Episode 1 isn't just going to give us tears, it's going to give us conflict. And those two funerals will be ground zero for the battles ahead. And while everyone else is trying to process loss, Reggie's out here playing chess. Episode 1 is the perfect moment for him to make his move. Douda might still think he's running the board, but Reggie is sliding in piece by piece, setting up the kind of takeover that's going to change everything. And the wild part? He's doing it quietly in the shadows, where nobody's paying attention. That makes him even more dangerous because by the time folks realize he's the real threat, it might already be too late. Episode 1 will give us the first glimpse of that shift, and once it starts, you can bet it won't stop. So yeah, Season 8. Episode 1 is about to hit us with a heavy mixed grief. Anger, loyalty, betrayal, and power plays. Every single character is walking into this new season with a target on their back. And the crazy part is, half of them don't even know it yet. That's what makes the Kai so addictive. You never know who's going to rise, who's going to fall, and who's going to end up paying the ultimate price. If you've been watching the Kai long enough, you already know when people start grieving, that's when the snakes slither out. Season 8 Episode 1 is going to make that clear real fast. Everyone's distracted by pain, by loss, by trying to hold their families together. But in the background, folks are plotting. That's the beauty and the curse of this show. The streets don't care about your heartbreak. They smell weakness and they strike. Let's talk about Knuck, because I can already see him becoming a major headache this season. The finale hinted at it, but Episode 1 is where we're going to see him in full motion. He's messy, he's reckless, but he's also smart enough to know how to use other people's pain for his own advantage. With Alicia gone, with Bari questioning everything, with Tiff doubting him, Knuck is standing at a dangerous crossroad. If he feels like people are slipping out of his grip, he's gonna come down hard. He doesn't care who gets crushed in the process. And the worst part? Knuck doesn't just fight with his hands, he fights with manipulation. Episode 1 could show him whispering in people's ears, planting seeds, trying to twist the story about Alicia's death so it lands on Vic or Shad. He knows if suspicion shifts away from him, he can keep running things in the shadows. But the thing about lies is they don't last forever. Somebody's going to catch on, and when they do, Knuck's whole world could collapse. On the flip side, we got Emmett. This man's been the heart of the show for years, and now he's running on pure emotion. Episode 1 is going to show us a different side of him, one we haven't really seen before. Not the hustler, not the lover, not the guy trying to balance 10 things at once this time. It's the Avenger. He's grieving Keisha, but he's also hungry for justice, and that combination is dangerous. When Emmett starts putting 2 and 2 together, he's not going to sit around waiting for answers. He's going to start making moves, even if those moves put him in harm's way. And here's what makes it even more intense: he's not thinking clearly. He's emotional, he's reckless, and when you mix those two, you get chaos. I wouldn't be surprised if episode 1 ends with Emmett doing something we'll all be screaming at the screen about. Something bold, something stupid, but something that changes everything moving forward. And then there's Papa. People forget about him because he's not moving weight or starting fights. But don't sleep on Papa, he's been carrying quiet pain for a long time. And episode 1 is going to push him into a corner. Losing Jada hit him harder than anyone realizes. This kid built his whole identity around faith, family, and community. And now all of that feels shaky. Episode 1 could show him questioning the very foundation of who he is. But here's where it gets interesting: sometimes when people lose their faith, they either break down completely or they rebuild stronger than ever. If Papa takes the second path, he might just become one of the loudest, most powerful voices in the Southside. He doesn't need a gun to be dangerous. His words, his influence, his ability to rally people, that's what could shift the balance of power this season. Episode 1 might not show the full picture yet, but it'll plant the seed for what's coming now. Reggie. Man, I keep saying it, but this dude is the one to watch. While everybody else is distracted by grief and survival, Reggie is out here building. He's not grieving, he's not second-guessing, he's plotting. And that's what makes him scary. Episode 1 is going to give us the first glimpse of him stepping out of the shadows. Maybe not as the main villain yet, but definitely as someone we need to keep an eye on. He's got ambition, and ambition is the most dangerous drug in the Kai. Reggie wants to be bigger than Dowda ever was, and the wild part is, he just might pull it off. If he plays his cards right, episode 1 could be the start of his rise. And trust me, once he starts climbing, he's not stopping until he's sitting at the very top. But let's not forget the funerals. Those moments are going to be the emotional heartbeat of episode 1. Funerals bring everybody together, but they also rip open old wounds. You know it's going to be drama when all these people, with all their history and grudges, are standing in the same room pretending to mourn in peace. Emotions will be running wild: tears, anger, maybe even fights. And the wildest part? Funerals in the Kai never stay just about the dead. They always turn into a stage for the living. Who shows up, who doesn't, who speaks, who stays silent, every move means something. Episode 1 is going to use those funerals not just to close chapters, but to open new ones. And I guarantee, by the end of those services, we'll have a clear picture of who's with who, who's against who, and who's about to make the next bold move. So if you thought Season 7 left things messy, Season 8 Episode 1 is about to take that mess and pour gasoline all over it. This isn't just grief and healing, it's grief turning into rage, healing turning into betrayal, and loyalty being tested in ways we've never seen before. Every single character is stepping into a storm, and the craziest part? None of them even see how big that storm really is. The thing about the Kai is, nothing ever stays buried. Secrets don't stay hidden, lies don't stay quiet, and the past always comes knocking. Season 8 Episode 1 is about to remind us of that in the coldest way. Because while some folks are trying to move forward, others are digging, watching, and waiting for the right moment to expose the truth. And let's be real, once the truth starts leaking out, it's going to blow everything wide open. Let's get into Tiff again, because her story is going to carry more weight than people expect. She's been through hell already, but in Episode 1, her pain is going to turn into focus. Tiff is sharp. She notices things other people overlook, and when it comes to Knuck, her guard is already up. She never fully trusted him, and now with Alicia gone right after his little visit, her suspicions are only growing. Episode 1 could show her quietly piecing things together, asking questions that sound innocent but really aren't. And that's the thing about Tiff: when she starts pulling at a thread, she doesn't stop until the whole sweater unravels. If she figures out that Knuck had a hand in Alicia's death, it won't just be a problem for him, it'll shift the entire power dynamic. Because Tiff, when motivated, isn't just a mother or a partner, she's a fighter. And this time, she's fighting with nothing to lose. Now think about Bari. This man is stuck in the middle of it all, and you can feel his breaking point coming. He's tired of Knuck's games, tired of living under someone else's thumb, and tired of the streets dictating his every move. Episode 1 is going to push him toward a choice: stay tied to Knuck and drown. or cut himself loose and risk everything. That scene back in season 7 where he asked Knuck straight up if he killed Alicia wasn't just a question, it was a warning. Barry's not blind, he knows what's up. And episode 1 could be the moment where he finally makes his move. But here's the catch, making a move against someone like Knuck isn't just about bravery. It's about survival. If Barry tries to walk away, he's gonna have to do it with eyes in the back of his head. Because Knuck won't let him go without blood. Episode 1 might be the start of that showdown, and trust me, it's not going to end pretty. Meanwhile, Douda is sitting in the shadows, watching all of this chaos unfold. And here's what makes him dangerous, he feeds off chaos. While everyone else is busy pointing fingers, crying at funerals, or chasing revenge, Douda is playing chess. Episode 1 will probably remind us that even when it looks like he's slipping, he's still 10 steps ahead. He doesn't need loyalty, he doesn't even need love, all he needs is fear. And right now, fear is exactly what the Southside is drowning in. If Douda decides to make his move in episode 1, it's not going to be with words or threats. It'll be with action, loud, brutal, unforgettable action. And that's what makes him the kind of villain you can't take your eyes off. But let's not forget about Jake. Episode 1 is going to hit him in ways he wasn't ready for. With Trig out of the picture and Keisha gone, Jake is running low on people he can truly trust. That's going to eat at him, and when Jake feels cornered, he lashes out. He's young, impulsive, and emotional. Episode 1 could easily set him on a dangerous path, one where he makes an enemy he can't afford to have. Whether it's Knuck, Douda, or even someone he once considered family, Jake is going to make a choice in this episode that changes his future. And the scariest part? He won't even realize how big that choice is until it's too late. And then there's Papa. His role in episode 1 might not be about guns or power plays, but don't sleep on his influence. People listen when he talks, even if he doesn't realize it himself. With Jada's funeral weighing heavy on his spirit, Papa might finally say something that sparks a movement. Maybe it's a speech, maybe it's a conversation, but whatever it is, it's going to plant a seed. And that seed is going to grow throughout season 8 into something unstoppable. Papa's never been the kind of character to shoot his way through problems. But episode 1 might show us that he doesn't have to. His words are bullets of their own, and in the Kai, that's just as deadly. And of course, there's Reggie. While everybody else is caught in grief, Reggie is strategizing. He's building his crew, stacking his money, and setting the stage for his rise. Episode 1 might not show him going full villain just yet, but the signs will be there. Maybe it's the way he talks to Hannibal and Keith. Maybe it's the way he handles Candace slipping up with Alicia's stolen stuff, whatever it is. It'll be clear that Reggie isn't just another hustler. He's the storm that's coming, and episode 1 is the first rumble of thunder. So yeah, season 8 episode 1 isn't just about grief, it's about what grief does to people. It makes some fight harder, it makes some crumble, and it makes others hungrier for power. And in the Kai, when everybody's reacting in different ways, that's when the most dangerous conflicts are born. Episode 1 is setting the table for a season where loyalty is a gamble, love is a risk. And every decision could be the one that gets you killed when you really think about it. Episode 1 is like a spark hitting gasoline, everybody's emotions, grudges, and secrets are just waiting to explode. And the wild part is, nobody even sees how close they are to that explosion. That's the thing about the Kai, it doesn't rush into drama, it builds it, slow and steady, until the whole block can't breathe. Season 8's opener is already setting the streets on edge. And the players in this game don't even realize they're walking into a war. Now picture Emmett. He's always tried to play the role of the peacemaker, the hustler with a heart. The guy who just wants his family safe. But in episode 1, he's boxed in like never before. Keisha's absence leaves a hole in him that he doesn't know how to fill. And with Alicia's death shaking up the city, Emmett feels that pressure more than anyone. His business, his family, his reputation, they're all tied to people who are now gone. And that kind of weight changes a man. Episode 1 might show Emmett realizing that no matter how hard he tries, he can't keep his hands clean anymore. He's been surrounded by gangsters, killers, and hustlers for too long. And now, the blood on their hands is creeping onto his. Then there's Rob. People sleep on Rob sometimes because he's not as loud as Knuck or as ruthless as Douda. But don't forget, quiet men are often the most dangerous. Episode 1 might remind us that Rob has ties that stretch further than the Southside. His connections are real and his patience is thin. With Alicia gone, Rob's next moves are going to be crucial. Does he keep playing loyal to Knuck? Or does he start carving his own lane? Episode 1 could show him testing the waters, making small moves that seem harmless now but are really the start of his takeover. And if Rob decides he's done living under Knuck's shadow, that's going to create a whole new layer of tension. Because trust me, Knuck doesn't forgive betrayal and Rob doesn't forget disrespect. Speaking of Knuck, let's talk about how his paranoia is about to spiral. Episode 1 will probably show him smiling, laughing, acting like he's in control, but deep down, he knows Alicia's death left a mess he can't fully clean up. Barry's watching him. Tiff's questioning him. Even Rob might be plotting behind his back. And the thing about paranoia is, it makes people reckless. Episode 1 could have Knuck lashing out at the wrong people, trying too hard to prove he's untouchable when in reality the walls are already closing in. That kind of behavior is exactly what gets leaders killed in the Kai. And Knuck is too prideful to see it coming. Meanwhile, Gemma's still reeling. Episode 1 is going to show how grief hits her differently. She's not a fighter like Tiff, not a hustler like Rob, not a street soldier like Barry. She's someone who feels every loss deep in her chest. And Alicia's death is going to push her to a breaking point. But here's the twist, sometimes grief can flip a switch in people. Episode 1 might be where Gemma starts turning cold. She's been protected her whole life, but with Alicia gone and Jake drifting, Gemma could start building walls. If she turns that pain into fire, it could transform her into a character we've never seen before. And honestly, that's scarier than anything the streets could do. And don't forget, Dowda's name is going to hang heavy over everything in this first episode. Even when he's not on screen, his presence is felt. That's how powerful his shadow is. People whisper his name, people fear his moves, and people wonder what his next step will be. And Dowda knows this. He knows fear works better than bullets sometimes. And episode 1 is going to remind us that he doesn't have to show up in every scene to be the center of the story. Because everyone, whether they admit it or not, is playing his game. Then we have the streets themselves. Episode 1 is going to show the tension in the air. The way people move differently after a big death. Corner boys looking over their shoulders. Mothers pulling their kids inside before the streetlights come on. The whole city feeling colder than it really is. That atmosphere is part of the story too. Because the Kai isn't just about characters, it's about how the block reacts. And in Season 8's opener, the block is restless, waiting, ready for the next body to drop. What's wild is how all these storylines are about to overlap without anyone seeing it coming. Tiff hunting for answers. Barry thinking about freedom. Rob testing his independence. Emmett trying to stay clean. Gemma losing herself. Jake making reckless choices. Reggie setting his empire. Dowda pulling the strings. And Knuck losing his grip. Episode 1 isn't just an introduction, it's a warning shot. A reminder that in the Kai, you either control the game or the game controls you. And right now, nobody's really in control. If there's one thing Season 8 Episode 1 makes clear, it's that peace is a myth in the Kai. Every character is carrying something: anger, grief, ambition, fear, and those emotions don't just fade away. They grow, they spread, and they infect everything around them. By the time this episode wraps, you'll feel it in your chest. The Southside is standing on a fault line. And one wrong move is going to make the whole thing crack wide open. The closing moments of Episode 1 are the kind that stick with you. This isn't about flashy violence or shocking twists for the sake of it, it's about the slow, quiet kind of dread that tells you worse is coming. A look between two characters who used to trust each other. A word said too sharply in the middle of a tense conversation. A phone call that ends too quickly, leaving you wondering who's really on the other end. That's how the Kai builds its danger, through tension you can't shake, even after the credits roll. And let's be real, every main player is standing on a different kind of cliff. Tiff is chasing answers that could get her killed. Barry is towing the line between loyalty and survival. Rob is plotting moves in the shadows, deciding when to strike. Emmett is drowning in pressure, not knowing how to keep his world from falling apart. Jake is about to make the kind of mistake you can't just fix with an apology. Gemma's grief is hardening her, reshaping her into someone new. Papa is carrying the weight of hope, but even hope is fragile. Reggie is sharpening his blade for a takeover. And Dowda is the storm everyone's pretending they don't see, but deep down, they know it's coming. Episode 1's ending feels like a chessboard that's just been set. Every piece is in place, every player has taken their seat. But nobody knows who's about to make the first move. And that's the scariest part. Because in the Kai, one small move, one lie, one betrayal, one shot can flip everything upside down. You can feel it in the air, someone's about to do something they can't take back. And once it happens, the Southside will never be the same again. So don't expect comfort. Don't expect safety. Expect tension, expect betrayal, expect heartbreak. Episode 1 is a warning: the peace is gone, and the war is just beginning. And when Season 8 really gets rolling, nobody is safe. Not family, not friends, not even the ones who think they're untouchable. Because in the Kai, survival isn't promised, it's earned, and the cost is always blood.